working on this old 462 known as a Pacific, and this is very old and it's going to require a lot of work. The first thing I want to do though is I want to work on the cover of the box. I think I can clean it up pretty good and improve at least that much. So I'll start with that. What I do is I use my car wax, and that removes a lot of this glue. So I'm going to get to work on that. I'll start by picking at this this little masking tape here. Oh, that was easy. And then I use my wax just to dissolve whatever glue is there. I just use the regular turtle wax. And that should mix, help me dissolve the glue. So I'll finish doing that off camera. It's not 100% perfect, but it helped a little bit. So this little guy is very old. I did not pay much for it. I don't 100% recommend this Locomotive for you. They look great, but it's like over 30 years old, so it doesn't run all that well. But I bet you now it doesn't run, but we're definitely gonna improve it. So let's see how it runs. So I put some power on the track, but it doesn't want to run at all. In fact, it's showing me a short circuit. So we'll have a look inside. So the tender picks up electricity only from one side of the track. So you can see this side's insulated, and the other side picks up electricity from the track. That's transmitted to the motor by the drawbar, just like in the 1950s. Also, this Locomotive, it's missing the coupler. It's got a KD conversion, so that's kind of nice. The front coupler too has been KD converted. That's actually very good stuff. So I'm going to start with the shell removal. There's a screw on the top here. So that's the first part. Removing the shell. So the cleaning of this, I'm going to do it with just my toothbrush and some dish soap. So the screw, you keep it in your box so you don't lose it. And you just pry very gently. It should just lift up. There we go. Now in the shell there, which is actually looks okay to me, the shell. I mean, the modern steam engine, they have separately applied handrails, which would help. But you see there's a little light bulb in here, and that works. It's nice. So this is your frame with all the wheels. Now on these, when you remove the motor, you have to be careful. This is just one little wire that goes from the motor to power up the light. That's all it is. Oh, and it was showing me a short circuit. But this is it right here, this little thing here. So this picks up electricity from one side of the track, and that'll transmit it to one side of the light bulb. This is the other side of the light bulb, which is connected to the tender here via the drawbar, and that brings electricity from the other side of the track. And if it touches the frame here, there's your short circuit. I can fix this in 2 seconds by using a piece of electrical tape. That was easy. Also, I'm going to remove the motor. So that's the first part. Loosen this wire, and then you can pull very gently. Do not tug on this plastic part. I've wrecked motors before that way. What happens if you tug on the plastic part? The plastic part has your commutator there. So if you pull on this, you're going to be removing the just the commutator and not the rotor inside. So you'll be probably breaking the very, very small wires. In fact, this is the part that turns the worm gear. It's like universal joint. So this is easy to remove. It's just pressed on and it's plastic. That's very easy to remove. Then once you've removed that, you can pull back and maybe reveal the rest of the motor. I'm not gonna pull on this because this thing still runs, so it's good. So I can maybe just lubricate it a little bit and use it like that. I'm gonna try it on my workbench just to show you. So it's gonna turn. So obviously it's in bad shape, but I think I'm going to be able to get it going again. So I've loosened it up and now I can get in there. Just go very easy. There you see your rotor and the commutator. You can almost see it in the bottom there. Just one drop is all you need. You can see it's been running for a long time. And then the other one, I'm going to get to it from the back side. Just like that. Just one drop. I'm just going to play with it with my hands to work the oil in. So next I'm going to work on the gearing inside. So what I have to do, I can remove the worm gear. It's held back only by this screw. So I'm going to loosen that. It's not even that hard to remove. There. Put that in my box. Then I can bring out the worm gear. I'll probably get to it from the bottom. So this is pretty dirty. So that too I'll have to work on. I'm going to remove the trailing truck and the pilot truck. There's your trailing truck. So that has to be cleaned. And this little guy is the pilot truck. Again, it's small screws, so you want to sweep your floor before you open this up. It's a little tight, so I'm going to work on it slowly. I'm going to work on it off camera. So once it's loosened up, it's actually very easy. There you have it. I'll put that screw towards the front of the box and the back screw towards the back of the, did I say the bus? I meant the box. So this is a nice detail piece, super nice. So that needs to be cleaned as well. This screw here allows you to remove the pilot beam here, which is a nice, very nice KD conversion. And that is this plate here. This plate here, what it's for is to hold the gears in place. Now that's going to be a little work to clean, but this is why I'm removing this. So the locomotive picks up electricity from this side. On that side you have two traction tires, and then the middle one doesn't do much. So remember that for when you're putting it back together. We're going to remove, usually I don't do the valve gear, but I'm going to remove the valve gear. So this one is not affected by the valve gear. The two drivers, they're all different. So this one doesn't take anything. The front one has 2 pins. I'll remove the this valve thing. This, you can remove them. It's just a screw. It's a very small screw, but it's just a screw. And that you do not want to drop on the floor because it's small. It's very small. So I'll work on it off camera. So it's a very small screw. As you can see, there's hair and stuff in there. Certainly that does not help for performance. So that's going to have to be cleaned. I'm going to use probably some Varsol to get in there and make this clean again. Same with that side. These here are rivets, so I don't need to remove them. I'll do the other screw on the other side here. So once the valve the valve timing arm is off, then you can remove the connecting rod. You can remove that, and the main rod comes out just like that. So that's going to have to be cleaned. But now your wheels are free. I'm also going to remove this main rod here. Remove that and clean that. These 2 little sliders here, I'm going to check if they need to be realigned. I'm going to realign them. And we'll do the other side, the same thing. Take the main rod out. Take the connecting rod out. And then your wheels are free. So that's going to help me clean them. I'm going to remove this screw. It will allow me to remove my connecting rods. Then I can check for alignment, make sure they're aligned properly. It'll also allow me to clean them. Yeah, I'm going to use Varsol probably, because it's been lubricated with different stuff over the years. I think it's going to need major help. So you can remove your little pilot beam. And then you have access to your steam chest. There's your steam chest with the cylinders. And then this guy's riveted in. Oh no, it's another little screw. So I'm going to continue this off camera. So once I have the screw loose, I can remove this. And I can remove the 2 side rod for alignment. Oh, you can tell it's been over lubricated here quite a bit, huh? So yeah, definitely had to take this apart to get in there. Yuck. So I took the time to clean up all my components. First, I'm starting with these 2 little gears here. They're interchangeable, so you don't have to worry too much about this. Just slide right in there. There's also 2 little stoppers. Now as I do this, I'll do my own lubrication, which is better. So every part of this is going to get lubricated again. So I'll put my little stoppers. drivers go on here. Now the main drivers, you have to remember, they have to be timed. And this one is the middle one. This is the main driver. So the drivers have numbers. It's number 1, number 2, number 3. And also remember, there's one side that picks up from the track and one side that's insulated. So this is the number 1 driver. Number 1 driver has a little pin to hold the main rod. So as I put them back, I'm going to make sure that I get them timed just right. So I want the pin to be on the top there. That's what I want. So as I put them in, I make sure that they're in the correct notch so that everything can work together. And then the number 3 driver goes down the same way. It has to be perfectly timed with the others. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And the other side is well timed as well. You can see on this side, the inside of the wheel picks up electricity. And on the other side, it's all insulated. It's plastic inside. So once you've got it lined up properly, you can bring in your protector plate. And I'm going to bring in the trailing truck and the pilot truck. So now that it's clean, it feels much better. So that is going to take a little bit of patience to put all those little screws back in. So it's kind of a shame because they don't run all that well. Even though all the components are quality, they were quality 30 years ago. So the state-of-the-art engines will knock the socks out of this before breakfast without even trying. So that's the way life is, technology, things catch up. Then before I put my pilot truck, I will put the pilot beam back on. I also have to put my my 2 guides for my valves. That has to go back at this time also. That too, and now that it's cleaned up, feels much better. So they go back like so. Now I will put the steam chest and the pilot beam back where they're supposed to go. They go together. So they go back as one unit. And I have a chance, if I feel that my guides are a little bit crooked, I have a chance to put them back together. So your 2 cylinder guides are going to go into the steam chest. So you have to put everything together slowly as a unit. Here we go. Now I have a chance, if I want to straighten out my cylinder guides, my sliders, they could be straightened out at this time. Just need to put that little screw. That goes back here. I can start it by hand and then drive it in. Yeah, that takes a little patience, of course. But what are you gonna do? It's N scale. You're gonna have small parts. Wait till I get into the valve gear. I've had one of these where the frame was rusted. So that was a little bit of a problem. I kept it for parts anyways. You never know. I'm gonna work on my valve gear before I put my pilot truck actually. So I'm gonna start, basically I'm gonna start from the bottom and work my way up. So the first part to go looks like this. This is the first part I put in. So they are interchangeable. So whichever side that you want to do first. So this fork, it goes in the first pin and it lines up with this other pin on the number 2 driver like that. Number 3 driver just doesn't do anything. And then I have a little tiny little washer that goes on top of this. It's so tiny you can just pick it up with your finger like this. So it's small, very small. Then you can put your cylinder rod. I use gravity as my friend to line it up properly. So I'll use gravity to line it up. So it should slide right in there. It should also go into the cylinder. This is not going to take 2 minutes. You have to have the patience to do it. That looks very good. And that goes over the number 2 pin. And then I have to bring in that little screw that is so small. It's in fact small enough that I'm going to be doing that off camera. That takes 100% concentration to do this. There is a timing to the valves. Now the engineer has a thing called the power reverse that allows him to change the valve timing as the engine goes down the track. They can do forward and reverse, but they can also change the amount of steam going into each cylinder. And they can, there's a timing to this. It has to be, let's say you make it 90 degrees to the wheel, has to be just a little bit after. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to time this side now. Just a little bit after. Like so. Should be about like that. So I'm going to tighten it off camera. Now I'm going to test it on the bench just to make sure everything's going well. Wow, that looks amazing. Don't forget the pilot truck. It would look really silly without it. So I'll finish this off camera. So now I'm going to put my shell back on. I don't really recommend getting this locomotive. It's a little tough to work on, and I find the performance to be disappointing. Well, you know what? I'm forgetting something a little bit important there. I still haven't addressed my short circuit, so I'm going to do that right now. You just need a little piece of tape like this, and that will be enough to repair my short circuit. So I don't want it in the way. And remember, this wire is used for your light. So now I can put my shell back on. So I don't necessarily recommend you getting this. It doesn't have all the performance you would expect. It's still fun to run though. I still have fun running them. Don't forget to put the screw that holds the shell back together. And also I'm going to put the tender on. So the tender goes on like this. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, that was quite a challenge, but I got it going. It's a little bit tough to live with this engine. A lot of the motors are bad, and sometimes the frames are bad. The only reason you would have to ever get this is if you want an extra challenge, something that's tough to fix. So I hope you enjoyed the video. See you soon.